to go in there every time and to see and to just start looking and think, oh my gosh, are they going to have the one that I need? And yeah, it's scary.
It is like during a hurricane when there's no gas stations open.
There is nothing more important than feeding your baby and making sure that they are healthy. And tonight, that is a major concern for moms across the country and dads. We are hearing from panicked mothers nationwide as America's baby formula shortage has gone from just a mild inconvenience to right now, it is a full-blown national crisis that has gotten the White House's attention. So we want to take a look at some of the shelves. This is around the Chicago area today. One of our producers out and about, 2 different stores, and the shelves are completely empty. I was at a CVS today, saw the same thing. The crisis is driving parents to extremes just to feed their babies. They are having to ration formula. They're driving hours, paying expensive gas prices to do so, to try to find any formula available, anything they can do. There's message boards, Facebook groups, social media, all offering to swap formula. I said last night, moms are going to end up solving this problem, helping other moms. So in at least these 8 states, Montana, Nevada, Arizona, Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee, and West Virginia, the formula, only half there, half out of stock. So they are more desperate than most. The White House, as I said, now jumping into the fray, although this has been a problem that's been months in the making. We're just only seeing the consequence now.
Sure, and part of the problem has been that as it's been months in the making, the moms who've been reading about this on Facebook and other places, some of them have been buying huge quantities of it, and who wouldn't, thinking that your kid might run out of food. But it was funny, you said the places that 8 states with less than 50% supply. So many pictures are coming into us from around the country that this is really a nationwide problem. The White House announced a series of measures to increase supplies, cut red tape to speed up manufacturing, crack down on price gouging and hoarding, possibly the use of the Defense Production Act to increase formula availability, they say, is not off the table. Bringing Chris Hahn, former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer, host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. Chris, you think about this. Gas prices, interest rates, crime, the border, now baby food. President Biden just can't get a break, can he?
No, I mean, he can't. And again, like many of these problems, they're not the fault of the president, but they become his problem politically because people expect the president to solve all problems. And, clearly there's an issue here, which, by the way, is exaggerated by the fact that we can't import baby formula from Canada, thanks to the new trade act that President Trump pushed through in his first year in office. And we have an issue importing it from Europe because of labeling requirements, even though the formula sold in Europe might be more nutritious than it is here. The manufacturers in Europe probably should come up with some new labels that match the FDA guidelines and start selling it over here.
Well, I don't know if people are going to be satisfied with some of the president's plans to address it. I mean, 1, cutting red tape. So you hope that doesn't mean shortcuts when it comes to what we're feeding our babies. So how are they going to do that? And 2, increasing the supply from expediting more imports of baby formula. I mean, the supply chain issues are endless right now. So good luck with that. I don't see a solution. I'm hearing for 6 to 12 months before things start to settle.
Yeah, look, this was made worse by a recall of 2 major brands earlier this year because of they were connected to some deaths in small children. So, yeah, there's an issue. The supply chain never recovered after what happened in 2020, where people were actually overstocking on baby formula. And then there was less demand in 2021. And here we are in 2022. I guess 2021 was a big year for having babies. And here we are in 2022, and the market is not meeting the supply and demand. But, a lot of the people criticizing the president would be criticizing the president if he put price controls or other measures in place to try to fix this problem.
Well, I guess you're wondering, though, Chris, why wasn't more done to address it, right, than be reactive right now? Because the issues with the formula out of Sturgis, that was February, right? So we knew this was coming. So if the White House was, in fact, kind of preparing for this problem, it's kind of like, well, why didn't we have a better plan and we wouldn't be sitting here right now?
Well, again, we live in a capitalist economy. The president doesn't make a 5-year plan for baby formulas. That would be socialism or communism. So it's not up to the president to solve the market's problems. Now that it's become a national emergency, the president might use what limited tools he has, like the Defense Production Act, to try to get more supply in and encourage the FDA to work out deals with Canada and work out deals with Europe to try to bring in formula from there to fix the supply problems here.
You make a great point when you say that it is not the president's responsibility necessarily, but it is his problem. Or it's not his fault, but it is his responsibility, depending on how you look at it. There's a lot of problems that he has encountered that applies to, and that this administration seems to have been caught flat-footed on. Gas prices being another one of them. We put up sort of the timetable of gas prices. They started going up as soon as he was inaugurated. There's a number of reasons for that. But at every point along the way, he kept saying, gee, I'm doing everything possible to lower gas prices. I'm doing everything possible to lower gas prices. And still, gas prices kept going up over and over and over again. Just from a political standpoint, at what point do you, as the president's advisors, say, look, the far left of the party can go fly a kite. We are going to open up domestic drilling, or the far left of the party can go fly a kite as it relates to what's happening right now with baby formula, and we're going to take a lot of regulation off of manufacturers and unilaterally change things with Canada and unilaterally change things with Europe.
I think on the baby formula, they're going to have to unilaterally change things with Canada, although it is a treaty. It is a trade. You know, it's very complicated. What President Trump did with the Canadian and the free trade zone, he got rid of NAFTA. He put in the new North American trade agreement that makes it very hard to take baby formula and other dairy products from Canada. Big milk, which I know is a joke, kind of, but there is a big milk lobby here in the United States of America that put that language in the bill.
You and I well both know, okay, and we look at the president's approval numbers. They did the same thing. You came on and said the same thing about gas prices. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's supply. Oh, it's Putin. On and on and on. The president's approval numbers just don't match it because the American people don't buy all of these reasons. We can sit around and talk about them, but how worried are Democrats that this doesn't become an issue of approval numbers, but sort of whether Americans even believe President Biden is competent to deal with all of these problems if he keeps saying, I'm going to fix them, and then the problem keeps getting worse?
Well, look, again, I am not most Americans. I am well read on these issues, and I know that they're a problem. But politically speaking, yes, it is the president and the Democratic Party's problem. Because even though they don't control the economy, even though they are not responsible for the global oil market increasing global gas prices, they will be their problem in November if those problems do not subside. They need to do everything they can to work to make that happen, but they have limited tools at their disposal. If they started drilling in every place in America right now, that oil would not be on the market as gas for years.
Right, no, it wouldn't fix anything except the optics problem. And when today, I'm sure a number of moderate Democrats were just cringing when they heard the announcement that the White House was pulling a 1 million-acre lease in Alaska. You make a great point. Wouldn't change anything come October or November, but boy, from an optics standpoint, it changes things. Chris, it's good to see you. Thanks for staying up late.
Nice to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.